And now, welcome to this session.
This talk examines the shift from traditional quality assurance to quality assistance in software development, highlighting how this model aligns better with agile principles and offers cost-effective solutions for maintaining product quality. With a focus on embedding quality throughout the software development lifecycle, our next speaker designs test frameworks for both UI and API tests. He helps teams embed quality during planning, design, and coding stages, making applications more testable, and thereby providing a faster quality feedback loop. To give a beginner's guide to quality assistance, please welcome the quality advocate at Domain, Mr. Hector Hernandez.
Hello, everyone. Everyone can join us. So I see the poll, and it's a good distribution, no, of engineers and QAs, and I'm really glad that we have Scrum Masters as well. For those that answered others, you can use the chat to put your role. Maybe that'll give me a good idea. Oh, we also have data engineers. Nice. All right. Let me share my screen. This is gonna be a good talk. And hopefully very educational to everyone. So my voice is my volume, the volume of my voice is good. All good. Okay. Okay, so again, thanks for joining me, Beginner's Guide to Quality Assistance. This is, and I'll be talking about quality assistance and how this model works and how it's helped my team uh, to better stabilize our product and allowed us to release with confidence and frequently. But before that, I'll just give you a brief background of myself. And the purpose of this is to give you, I guess, a journey, my journey on how I got to being a quality advocate. So I came from UST computer. I graduated BS Math Com Sci, so that aged me. And my first job was as a developer in MySys. Now it's called Finastra. For a technology that's a sequential programming, it's a really old technology but very reliable, IBM technology. For that, I did that for 2.5 years, and after that, I went to Accenture, and I became still an engineer, but I switched to a Microsoft technology stack. So it's C++, SQL, and VB6. And this is where I got exposed to object-oriented programming, which, if you think about it, it's more, at least in the automated sense, test automation sense, it's more automatable than in sequential programming, which I did in MySys, Finastra. And after 7.5 or 8 or so years in Accenture, I went to Willis Towers Watson, and I inadvertently became QA. I answered the job posting for a team coordinator, and the description looked like technical, meaning you can code, you do object-oriented programming and all of that stuff, but it was under QA. So it was a QA team because it's more of test automation. Now, in between Accenture and Will Stars Watson, I got exposed to a little bit of QA, but not quite. It was unit testing. So I needed to understand how to write tests for my code. It was a test-driven development style. And in Will Stars Watson, as part of the QA team, I got exposed not only in still automating UI and API, but the whole QA process. So that means that includes writing test plans and assigning yourself tickets, partnering with the dev. So that's manual testing, functional testing, which is UI, API, and non-functional testing, which is performance testing. And then, so Willis Stars Watson, I was with this company for 7 years then. And if I think about it, I've been working with as a developer more or less a decade, using the Microsoft technology stack. So that's a brief history, my work history. So how did I learn about the quality assistance model? When I interviewed for the job in Domain, I was currently an SDET, again with the Microsoft tech stack. And during the interview, they were asking me about probing questions, mostly about the QA mindset, how I do test, how I write test, how would I test this, the usual questions as a QA. But also for technical questions like designing, how would you test a technical design. Also, they ask me what happens if you are removed from the tools that you've been used to for the past more than a decade or so. And particularly, I thought that they were referring to the programming languages. So I use Selenium, I use NUnit, REST Sharp for automated testing, and for manual testing, sometimes I would use Excel to write down my test cases, and I forgot the test management tool that I used before. Pero I just told them that, well, tools are tools. They're there to help you as long as you know the principle of quality assurance. Then you're good. You can learn different tools, different um, techniques. So I got in. They offered me the job, and on my first day at work, I was asked to be an observer, and I quickly realized two things. First is that I was the only QA in the team. So it means that they've been functioning without a QA for the longest time. And the second was we were using a Java tech stack. So all of the technologies that I used before, it did not serve me anymore. They did not have a test management tool to keep track of test cases or any of the like, tracking has this sprint been tested, how many iterations, so on and so forth. So those are the two things that I noticed immediately. And my team lead pulled me aside, of course, introduced me to the team as the quality advocate, which is, on my first day, that's the first time I've heard of the role, quality advocate. And then my lead discussed to me what he liked me to do, he wanted me to do. So in a nutshell, he wanted me to be a mentor, a coach to the team, and preach about quality practices rather than actually doing the testing. Okay. So just to give you guys a good idea, um, the quality assurance model has a quality analyst as a quality engineer and an SDET, of course, performance engineer. That's its model. The quality assistance has a quality advocate. So when I talk about quality advocate, it is it is the equivalent of quality analyst, quality engineer to quality assurance. I hope that made sense. Okay, so let's get to it. Uh, why do quality assistance? Just like with any other goal of a software company or a software team, you want to deliver products, but you don't just want to deliver them. You want to deliver them quickly and with quality. So you want quality at speed. You want to deliver on time, if not earlier, and within budget. That's the main goal. To put it simply, with the team building the product with quality in mind, whether it be in the design phase, during the release planning, the sprint planning, in any of those ceremonies, in any of those stages, you want quality in mind, for everyone, the whole team. So bugs and defects are minimized because there's less rework. If you have you put quality in mind throughout the whole SDLC process. That's the belief. That's the theory. Okay. So what a quality advocate does? What does it? What does he or she do? Uh, so I was thinking if I should write a definition for this, but I think it would be easier if I gave I gave you guys what a quality advocate, um, the day in the life of a quality advocate, what he or she does really, the actions, not a definition. So first and foremost, the main big difference is that a quality advocate does not execute tests. So imagine my surprise, for the past years, decade or so, decade or more, I've been, an SDET, quality engineer, and I've been running tests, I've been executing tests, I've been writing them, designing them, and turns out that, uh, in my new role, I'm actually not expected to do any testing. In fact, I am not only not expected to do test execution, but also writing test. So, sino ang magra-write ng test? Sino ang mag-execute ng test if the lone QA in the team isn't doing it? So, more on that later. What, I would be doing is coaching. I would be coaching not only the engineers on test cases, but also architects in how to design systems that are testable. So if you think about it, there are some systems that are highly testable because they follow the same principles as how a developer writes code. Single responsibility, you're able to, isolate issues, and all of that stuff. OOP principles, basically. So it applies to coding and to designing, to some extent, of course. Influencing. So I'm expected to ask questions so that the team, regardless of depending on the roles, to ask the correct questions in challenging them into trying to think about how can I assure that I am writing, designing, coding this the right way. And by the right way, meaning, uh, is it, are the requirements being met correctly? And if not, baka may kulang din sa requirements. I need to be asking questions so that the engineer, the architects, um, are able to dissect the problem, to granularize it in order to see the components, the individual components, and how to test them. So an advocate does not execute tests. The team does, and I'll show a RASI table mamaya on who'll be doing the test execution. So I do influencing the team to think how to test it as early as release planning, sprint planning, development, and so on. An advocate coaches the team members on how to come up with effective test case scenarios. So for example, I have a test case scenario, but an engineer writes a test case scenario, but is it deterministic? So that type of question. If I run it multiple times, will it give me the same result? Or depende ba sa speed ng system? Or does it have a third party that may cause it to have a failure? Those types of things. So an advocate coaches the team not only in functional but also in performance. So non-functional testing, as I mentioned earlier. When doing a design, it might be testable, but it might not be performant. So I need to have some sort of balance and challenge the team to thinking to balancing that. An advocate makes testing easier for the team, so be it through suggesting testing frameworks or processes, assisting in writing test plans, which is actually a big deal. Because if you don't have QAs, if I'm the only one, if there's only one QA in the team, you need to be able to assist in writing the test plans. Not write the test plan yourself and have them and give it to them and they execute it. You have to keep on challenging them to write their own test plans. Deciding which flavor of test automation is best to apply, that's another thing that an advocate tries to help out with. So that's the assisting with the plumbing, about determining testing frameworks that you may or may not use, what's best. Purely suggestion and guidelines and questions to challenge. So a quality advocate is more of a influencing and assisting the team to have a quality mindset from start to finish. Okay, so marami akong sinabi. Let me share a diagram on to compare quality assurance with quality assistance. So this is how it works in general. So this is a bird's eye view, how it works quality assurance. So you have a kickoff, you have the business owner, the product owner there. That's the guy with glasses, with hair and no beard. You have the engineer with the blue square glasses, brown hair, in front of the computer. You have the QA, the glasses and the checklist, and the architect, the guy with the beard. Of course, can be guy, girl, regardless. Those are just avatars that I picked up in the internet. After the kickoff, the requirements are studied further, and then you need to break them up and then do a design and The architect does that, and maybe not. The engineer is also involved as well. Once the design is in place, you have the engineer coding. Once it passes the engineer's own testing, you have a walkthrough wherein the engineer shows the QA and the product owner, the business analyst, how it works according to the specs that was given to the engineer, gets deployed to QA, where the quality analyst, quality engineer tests it, and then it's ready for release at any time in production. So that's the general flow. Of course, the QA, upon receiving the requirements, would also start writing their test cases. So that's somewhere parallel with design and coding. So habang nagko-code si engineer, habang nagde-design si engineer and si architect, QA gets to work on the requirements and writing the test cases. So how about quality assistance? So in quality assistance, same thing with the kickoff, but the QA is involved in the design. Now, this design can be high level, so in diagram form, but as early as this, the QA is trying to ask if the design is actually testable. Is it testable? Does it have, are there components, inputs that are mockable? Should they be mocked? Or should we be preparing for integration testing? Not just unit testing. So those types of questions. In the test analysis phase, the quality advocate is with the engineer, because now that the epic is broken down into tickets and expectedly should be more granularized, you start writing test cases, and the quality advocate helps the engineer writes those test cases, and even suggest if not only unit testing should be implemented, but perhaps UI testing, API testing, and maybe even automated JavaScript testing. It's like using Jasmine or something. After that, the engineer codes and runs the tests that the quality advocate helped him or her write in the test analysis. So if you might be thinking, well, this is probably going to be automated test. Maybe not, because not all of the test cases are automatable, and even if they are, there are some test cases that does not return the right ROI to be automated. So who does that? The engineer does that. And one of the perks of having the engineer write the test is that I, as an engineer before, I did not like repetitive work, so I automated. So there's an incentive for writing automated tests. Again, in the test analysis, we refine the test cases, the correct test cases, not just test cases just so there's a test case, but the correct test cases, high impact test cases that cover the right things. Not only the requirements, but also perhaps edge cases or other test cases that were missed by the requirements. After the coding with testing by the engineer, a walkthrough by the engineer, the testing, and then it gets deployed in QA. And the testing in QA is executed by the engineer, not manually, maybe a little, but if you have the right CI/CD, once the ticket is pushed into the QA environment, that's the trigger to run the automated test. Whether they are gatekeepers like unit testing, integration testing, beta testing, context testing, and what have you. Even actually performance testing. You can start performance testing uh, not not when there's when the end-to-end test is complete, even as early as unit uh, functional testing. You can do performance testing there. So after testing in QA is complete, it's green build, then it's ready for release. So if you look at it, the quality advocate is involved, kickoff, design, test analysis, and then the walkthrough. Okay. So here's a notification feature test case. This is an example. It is design. So this is part of designing instead of. So this is the quality advocate talking to an architect or talking to a senior engineer trying to design the feature. The design before talking to the quality advocate, you can see there that the boxes, you can read it one by one. Let me give you a focus on the fourth box, the biggest box up top. It says get users from the notification, get token or email from the DB, and construct final notification and record in the sub-event DB. So by the way, this feature is about getting a user notified whenever their subscription, whenever the property that they subscribe to changes. So this is a property buy and sell application. And any user can subscribe to a property if they're interested in their property and they want to know if it gets sold or rented out or changes owner anytime. So they subscribe to that property. So this is the notification feature design for that flow. Now, the point here is that if you look at the design after talking to the quality advocate, you can see that the big box up top is broken down into separate sequential boxes. So why? Primarily because of testability. Now, for each of those three events that happen at that big box, the input of a succeeding event is the output of the previous one. So there's a sequence that happens, and we want to test each one of those before we test the next. So imagine if these boxes were API calls, and the design before talking to the quality advocate, the big box, has a lot of things going on. If that API fails, you wouldn't quickly know which of the three sequential events failed. But on the diagram below, since it's broken down, you have a better chance, quicker chance of finding the issue faster. And this is just in the design phase. So you might say, well, that's a lot more work because we're going to be maintaining additional 2 APIs instead of 1. Dahil the one API up top, the big box, got separated into 3. Yes, that's right, but that's upfront work. That's how test automation works. It's upfront parate. But in the long run, it will benefit you. It will benefit you more. So that's an example of a quality advocate during the design phase. How about in just the usual requirements? So requirement in our property listing web page, users are able to sign up to be notified of any changes to a particular property. Once a user subscribes, to be notified, the user will receive it through their selected device. So questions that needs to be answered. So how can users subscribe to a property notification besides in the web app? So can they subscribe in a mobile app, through an API, through a shared device, through a linked application, so on. What are the possible means the user wishes to be notified? You have SMS, you have mobile, you have email. Those are the usual ones. What if I connect my smartwatch to my phone? How will the notification look like? What if I connect my devices into other devices? How will the how will the notification sound like? Can I use these are other questions that can challenge the requirements in order to break them down more and see, not only to break them down, get more test cases, but also ask, is it testable? Can I test this with the current design that I have? Okay. Now for the RASI. RASI is just a table that says who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, and who's informed. So this is a general guideline. If we look here and we identify the coding and test execution, we see that the engineer, sorry, before that, I'll take a step back. The test analysis, the quality advocate is responsible with the dev in the test analysis. And they're also accountable. So if there's a missed test case scenario, they're both accountable. They consult the business analyst. So we're looking at the raw test analysis. During the coding and testing, test execution is the dev. And the quality advocate is always there to be consulted. In the test execution, upon deployment to the test environment, in my team, responsible is the dev and quality advocate. But ultimately, who's accountable is the dev. But the quality advocate is partly responsible in making sure that the test execution happens. So this can happen in a CI/CD pipeline, and most of these are automated tests. You can still have manual tests here, absolutely, but as much as possible, we want this to be automatable. That's why we put a lot of investment in test analysis and in the quality advocate looking at the design. That way, we can understand if something's not testable, how do we make it testable? And by testable, I mean not only manual testing, but also automated testing. Deployment to production and then smoke testing. This is also for the dev. Now, this looks like it's a lot of work for the engineer. And it is. It is. Remember, there's no QA to be the gatekeeper. There's no quality checker. In between the QA and the production, the guard is the test that the developer wrote using the test cases that the quality advocate helped the developer, the engineer, right? Okay. Now, this is something that business analysts and product owners need to understand as well, is that upfront there is a cost. So story points might look bigger sa simula because you're going to write automated tests. But the thing is that if you design it in a testable way, if you write your code with testability in mind, test automation should be faster. And once you have those automated tests, your regression will be faster. In our team, we do regression testing for around less than 2 hours for everything. And that's because of the help of the automated test. So I hope that none of you guys are still doing regression testing na dalawang linggo, isang linggo. That's, you have to question your process if you're doing even 3 days regression testing. You have to ask yourself, why am I doing regression testing for 3 days? Right. So what are the requirements to be a quality advocate? So first off, the quality advocate needs to be a good communicator and knows how to build rapport and influence the team. So he or she needs to help the engineers in developing the right habits, such as coding and designing with testability in mind. Needs to be a leader. Basically, leadership is influencing, and there's a lot of influencing when you're a quality advocate. So the quality advocate, again, is more of a leadership role, and also an expert QA. So you have to understand the process of scoping, testing, writing correctly test cases, planning the writing test plans, and so on. So all of the testing skills that manual QA knows and has experience with, it's needed in a quality advocate role. Engineering know-how. If I'm a quality advocate, do I need to be an expert in writing automated tests? No, it's not a requirement. It's just a nice to have. But again, it's something that should be written by the engineers. And also, so I keep on saying only the engineers, but actually the business analyst, and of course the product owner who writes the acceptance criteria. They continuously refine the test cases, the requirements, acceptance criteria. So coding automated tests, it's not a requirement in the quality advocate. Why it worked in my team? So why did it work in my team? So we've been doing this for 2.5 years, and this is what I think are the reasons why it worked. So our engineers are willing testers. While my team is not 100% implementing the quality assistance model, so sometimes I am needed to assist in executing manual tests. The bulk of the tests are automated and were written by a lot of the engineers. Our engineers are willing testers, and some of them, even a lot of them actually all of them do manual testing because they don't want to have failures in production. And I remember I encountered engineers that are just adamant into they don't want to do manual testing. They think that it's siloed after the development stage. Once they throw it over the wall, the QA, wala na silang, they don't have anything to do with it anymore. So that's going to be hard. Quality assistance will be quite a challenge if that's the mindset of the engineers. So the engineers need to be willing testers in it. Second is the strong leadership support. So my team lead was the one to explain to me what a quality advocate does, but the team lead wasn't the one to implement quality assistance. It came from management. It came from up top. that this is the type that we want, that we believe in, that will work in our team. So quality assistance and having a quality advocate to guide and coach and influence the team, not only the engineers but also the architects, the scrum masters, um, and the product owners into writing, into doing their jobs with testability in mind. That was the plan the whole way. So that's what leadership wanted to do. So the support is already there. Bottom line is that, and each member wants to get better in their crafts. Meaning, I'm a product owner, and or I'm a business analyst, and I want to write the testing, the acceptance criterias. I'm going to write it once. I get feedback after my engineer or my quality advocate goes through it, and then we work on it. We refine it and refine it. And if I keep on doing that, I will have less iterations in writing my ACs because I'm better at writing ACs now. I'm better at prioritizing the work in my backlog as a product owner because I know that I have a better understanding of how long things are going to take um, with the right uh, process that we've implemented using quality assistance. So these three things are what I think is the reason why it worked sa team ko. Um, so I don't know, I don't know what's going on in your teams, in your companies, but I'm just saying that these are what, in my view, uh, made quality assistance work for my team. So just a quick one, just to end it, references. So we have a YouTube presentation of quality assistance. So they might have a different implementation of quality assistance, but the general idea is there. You have a YouTube quality assistance by Zemek. He presented that to Applitools, the company Applitools, and also there's a quality assistance article by Hans. I'm sorry I can't pronounce the name. um, it's a good article. I've also posted it in my LinkedIn about quality assistance. So yeah, I think we're ready for Q&A. And there's also a poll. If the moderator may please put the last poll in, our second poll, to our audience. That's all I have. Right, I'll stop sharing. Yep, thank you. Sorry, I think you're on mute. Ain.
I'm so sorry, guys. I've been talking a lot and then nakamute pala ako. I'm so sorry. Once again, let's show our appreciation to Sir Hector and shower him with emojis. Just, if you had fun and learned a lot from this evening session. Okay, sir, I think we still have time for some questions. So let's go through them one by one. So I'll actually go
Yes,
down
please.
through the most upvoted and then go into the relevant ones as well in the lower part. So our first question is, how do you keep on introducing improvements, enhancements to quality processes, especially when things are going pretty well for a while?
That's well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, you don't want to be complacent,
Okay.
right? So if it's working for you, then that's great. You can you can introduce uh,
Mm,
improvements or enhancement, but try to do it perhaps not team wide kagad.
mm,
Because if it's working already, then maybe you can introduce something, a new process, um, sa isang engineer lang, sa isa-isang ticket lang, sorry, not an engineer, but a ticket, and see if it
mm.
works better than what you currently have.
Okay, thank you, Sir Hector. Our next question comes from Eugene. Do you have guidelines as a quality advocate? Can you share with us a few of them?
Guidelines? No, not really. So quality advocacy, quality assistance, it's the first time I heard it was when I joined Domain. And it's not, but there have been articles out there trying to trying to preach it, evangelize it. Uh, for guidelines, I guess the ones that I just said about the requirements of being a quality engineer, those are the things that I follow. Uh, it's I guess if there's one thing that pops clearly into my mind, really quick when I saw your question, it's that if if you're a quality engineer and you start executing tests, then your team will start thinking that, okay, we have someone to execute tests. And you slowly, it's a slippery slope, you become a crutch. But it's actually, you want your team, not just the engineers, but
Mm-hmm.
also, but everyone
Yeah.
to execute, to get it into a habit
Mm-hmm.
of executing tests. Sorry, I just need to put this really quick. If you're coming from a quality assurance model and going into a quality assistance, you'll be attempting to change habits that have been formed for so many years. And it's not going to happen quickly. So you gotta have lots of patience when you do that.
So Eugene, there's no Bible on being a quality
Yeah, I'm
advocate. So
sorry.
yeah,
I'm sorry to
take,
do
take
that.
it from Sir Hector. Okay. Our next question is from Isa Pearl. What are the best practices for creating effective test cases that align with business objectives?
Well, let's see. Uh, for test cases, so I mentioned one earlier about the test needs to be deterministic. Uh, are we testing the right thing? Are we covering all of the ACs? Do basic QA, well, not really basic, but uh, as a QA, you put your position yourself in the user's role. I'm the user and I'm going to use this product. So I'm going to click this button. I'm going to um, uh, move this slider. I'm going to open
Mm-hmm.
into the user's shoes and then transfer that mindset to your team so that your team thinks as you do, like a QA. How do I test this properly? How do users use this? How will users use this
Mm-hmm.
and not break it? If it can be broken, how do I not make it broken? How do I prevent it from being broken? So those are the questions, continuous questions. So I guess for the best practices, you have to, as a quality advocate, you don't only question the requirements. That's why you're involved in the design as well, in the release planning. You question the feature.
Right.
you have to challenge. So do you have the courage? So you have to have the courage to start asking. Hindi yung tatanggapin mo na lang na, ito yung gusto ng product owner. Di ito yung gawin natin. Well,
Yeah.
I want to ask again. I want to ask too. So why are we doing this? Why not this? Why not that? So
Mhm. All right. Thank you, Sir Hector. And thank you also, Isa, for that wonderful question. Our next question comes from Armando. As a quality advocate, where would you classify quality assistants in our industry that are mostly composed of quality assurance analysts, testers, and quality engineers, as the current trend on roles are now shifting from QA to QE?
well, I believe that QEs, quality engineers, the ones that are able to write test, automated test, they're still in the model of the
Mhm.
quality assurance. The quality assistance model, in my mind, it's different. It's like shift left on steroids. Parang ganon. Like you're you're shifting left, trying to test early. Sa quality assistance, you're testing the design. You're already designing, oh, may testability ba? Is this testable? How can I write automated test for this? If I can't write automated test for this, how will we test this?
Mhm.
If we test this manually, can we test this manually? Can we test this manually or automated? If not both, paano? So
Mhm.
now there's going to be a gap, there's going to be a risk. So it's different yung quality advocate role. Again, it's the first time that I heard it 2.5 years ago when I joined this company. I never heard
Mhm.
it before. So to classify quality assistance, it's like outside of being a QA and a QE.
Mhm.
It's more of a coach, more of an influencer to the team. Parang whisperer,
Mhm.
quality whisperer. If there's something like that.
Yeah, so if I may, sir, Armando actually is asking on another question aligned to that. So I think it also your answer now actually answers his other question, which says that what's the difference of having a quality advocate with a QA team lead or a QA manager? So basically, you've answered it naman na
Well,
with what you said.
actually, I'm not a quality manager kasi I don't have direct reports. I'm
Yeah.
an individual contributor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, thank you again, Armando, for your questions. Our next question is again from Isa. How can tests be prioritized based on business risks and critical functionalities?
I think that's one of the things that uh, should be talked about with the product owner, since the
Mm-hmm.
product owner owns the board. If you think about the prioritization or the business risk, the importance of whatever that ticket is, then it should be a discussion between the business, the product owner. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sir Hector. We have another question here from Genevieve. What metrics can be used to evaluate the effectiveness of quality assurance versus quality
that's
assistance?
that's a great question.
Mhm.
Uh, so right now, my team, we don't have any metrics. We barely have quality metrics. We tried to do DORA metrics, more of the DevOps metrics. Pero our main metrics is production issues. How many production issues per release? That's the one thing that we guard on. And it can be functional, it can be non-functional, but that's the main metric that we try to zero.
Mhm.
We may also, well, actually no, kasi we have a testing environment, but we don't have a hard metric on it, like how many failures happened there. uh, the the main metric really is the production issues. And I'm very proud to say that we rarely have production issues now. In fact, we release so frequently, Mondays to Thursdays. We don't release on Fridays. You love your weekends, so we don't release on Fridays. So Mondays to Thursdays, we release multiple times a day. That's how confident we are in our process.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Genevieve. We have another question here from Chris. How can we ensure users prioritize first to complete the test cases before releasing to production? Some users mark these test cases as complete just to proceed with deployment.
Who are the users? Are they? I think we have a responsibility of what do you call that? We have a responsibility in the go or no go
Mhm.
scenario meetings to say that if this is not production ready, if this is not release ready, then we don't
Mm.
release it. Let's not be like some companies out there that release the beta version sa kanilang mga kliyente, lalo na yung mga nagbabayad at makakakuha beta version, puro error. Let's not be like that.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I said was you have to have pride in your work. You're not going to release something that you know is going to fail if you have pride in your work, if you're trying to get better in your craft.
Mm.
So how can we ensure? We can't, because it's a question of integrity. Ikaw, sasabihin mo na lang no. Pag nag-go or no go, then you say no.
Mm.
If you think that it's not release worthy, then that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sir Hector. Thank you also, Chris, for that question. Our next question comes from Rachel Ann. How can QA teams communicate their findings and feedback to non-technical stakeholders in an effective way?
How can QA teams communicate their findings and feedback to non-technical stakeholders? Um, well, if you're a QA, so one of the requirements, especially for manual testers, is you understand the requirements in layman's term, so you can synthesize, which is very important. You synthesize ideas in such a way that it's understandable. uh,
Mhm.
Findings, so acceptance criterias were designed to be understandable. So when you have a finding, let's say acceptance criteria fails, then you can point to that AC and say this AC failed. What if there's no AC and you just found the bug to exploratory testing or some other method? Then you can create one. It may be late, but it's still something synthesized and you can communicate. So communication it's basic. Basic. It's a core thing that you have to do. You have to learn if you're working in a team. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it sounds brutal, pero if you're working in a team, you have to be able to work with them, and you have to be able to
Mhm.
communicate. So you communicate with stakeholders. You have to communicate in a way stakeholders will understand.
I hope that answers the question, Rachel, and it suffices um, to your
So sorry,
standard. Okay.
can I just add one thing?
Sure, sure, sure.
Sometimes, and I've experienced this. Sometimes nahihiya akong sabihin,
Mm.
mag-communicate kasi it sounds so straight, sounds
Mm.
so brutal na baka ma-hurt yung feelings. But I guess it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So how you communicate is much more important than what you communicate.
Mm.
I'm sorry, that's all I can say without understanding the full context.
I think that also applies not just for QA to
It, it's
technical
everything. Yeah,
stakeholders.
it's
It
not what you
applies
do;
in
it's how you do it.
always in communications. Okay, so
Yeah.
our next question, coming from Colleen, what are the common pitfalls to avoid when designing test cases to ensure comprehensive coverage and accuracy?
Um, First thing that comes into my mind is just sticking with the ACs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have the ACs. You can write test cases for them, but you have to challenge yourself. Use your QA mindset. Your user, put yourself in the user's perspective. What other things, other scenarios, does the user do? Uh, so, quick story. Well, not a story, but if you have a button in your form and it does absolutely nothing. Let's say this is just a theory. You put a button in your form and it doesn't do anything. It's a safe bet that someone will click that button, even if there's no text to it. If there's nothing, there's no help text to it, no label to it. If someone sees a button, that button will get clicked one way or the other. So uh, you try to. So what I'm trying to say is you
Mm-hmm.
minimize how the user will use your application incorrectly. That's one way. So you help with the design for that. Sorry. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, so I hope that answers your question, Colleen. If you have any further clarification, you could just also reach out to Sir Hector for
Yeah.
that. Our
Yeah.
next question comes from JC Makam. What are the benefits of quality assistance in ensuring consistent uptime and performance during high traffic periods?
Well, if you're using quality assistance, it's a safe bet that your regression testing is fully automated. When you're doing consistent uptime in performance during high traffic periods, so I'm going to assume na during high traffic, what happens if there's an error? That's going to assure that that's the context of your question. Uh, if if you're having issues during performance, high traffic performance, then at that time, nasa production na, nangyayari na,
Mm,
um, you can go and go into firefighting mode and to find out what's the error. You can run your performance testing from the unit testing level up to the end-to-end testing level, because
mm,
I'm going to bet if you're using quality assistance, that's also automated.
mm,
In that way, you can have a faster turnaround and see what's the problem. But in my experience as a performance tester, performance issues, there are rarely quick fixes when the issue is about performance.
mm,
When the issue is about non-functional testing,
mm,
non-functional issue. So there's no quick fix to it. There's rare occasions when there's a configuration that you can just switch on or off and bibilis na yung system mo, or might have some sort of effect. You can add
mm,
servers. You can spin new instances. Maybe if you're in ECS, but again, for performance issues, there's rarely a quick fix to it. But again, if you're doing quality assistance, then your regression testing and your non-performance testing are most likely automated, fully automated, included in the CI/CD pipeline. So what I'm trying to say is you can do faster troubleshooting.
mm-hmm. Thank you, Sir Hector. Thank you also, JC, for that question. I think we have time for one last question before we finally end this session. One question that will I think will wrap up as well the entire session from Christian. Can you suggest some learning paths and resources that would help a beginner get started with the quality assistance approach?
Yeah. So before I answer this, I'd like to
Mhm.
address. I'd like to have some time after this to address the 8.3 people who are scared about quality assistance model. So,
Okay.
can you suggest some learning paths, resources? So the ones that I wrote down the references kanina, they are they're the best learning paths. But
Mm,
if you're a quality assistant, so in addition, if you're a quality assistant or quality advocate person,
mm,
if you go back dun sa sinabi ko kanina, you need to be a QA expert. And there are tons of QA courses out there that help you with with becoming an expert in QA. Uh, if there's thing, there's one characteristic attribute of a QA that is so important. It's that it's having a QA mindset.
mm,
Uh, yeah. So to address the 8.3 folks that clicked on scared. So there might be some questions, baka natatakot lang kayong tanungin. So mukhang mababawasan yung mga QA, paano yung trabaho ko? So that's the usual question sa quality assistance. Now, quality assistance, quality advocate, it's not something that you go in and then once you teach it, you go out. Again, we're trying to change habits. And
mm,
habits, once it is formed, it stays there. Pero habits can slide back into old habits if you're not
mm,
there.
mm,
Dahil hindi incentivized eh. If I'm an engineer and I used to be an engineer, why would I do all of that upfront work when my manager is breathing down my neck to push this into production?
mm,
So I'm going to be tempted to do shortcuts. And as a quality advocate, you need to help the engineer into not doing that and still be the champion of quality.
mm,
Now, how about the question? Well, we used to be four QAs in a team. Ngayon, isa ka lang quality advocate sa isang buong team. What happens to the other three? Being a quality advocate, uh, you have to be a learner. So this is just about being a QA. You have to
mm,
be a continuous learner. And as a QA, you can, some QAs have become QEs, have become SDETs, have become performance testers. I know I've seen it happening with Stars Watson. Um, some have become business analysts, product owners, and some have just become more better QAs. So
mm,
there are a lot of opportunities for you to branch out. The key is to have that learner's mentality. Na you are always evolving. This is what keeps you in the industry for the longest time. You have to have the learner's mentality.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope that covers everything on your end, Christian. And thank you again, Sir Hector, for answering all their questions. And I hope they still get a chance to connect with you right after this session. And um, guys, for the resources, I think Sir Hector will be posting the resource in the resources tab here in the page, in the session page. So you can access that here. Once again, guys, let's shower Sir Hector with our clapping and heart emojis to show our appreciation. So, uh, unfortunately, that's the only time that we have left
Thank you. Thank
for
you for
our
having me.
session this afternoon. Yes, no
And
problem,
thank you
sir.
for attending, everyone.
Yes. And again, also, guys, thank you for attending this session and the rest of the sessions that you've attended today. If you've enjoyed this session and all the other sessions, please do take the time to answer our feedback form, provide a provide your rating and your feedback for each session and each speaker, because we would really appreciate your feedback on that. And you'll find the of course you'll find the link to that feedback form at the chat box. Again, there's nothing left to say but thank you. And for those who are joining us tomorrow, for our final day and on-site day at the SMX Convention Aura, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And for the rest of those who will be joining us still virtually, I'll see you again tomorrow. Maybe because I won't be on stage. We won't be all the moderators today that you've seen won't be on stage, but for sure you'll be enjoying what's in store again for tomorrow. So see you again, and don't forget for those virtual attendees, don't stop engaging because the leaderboard is still racking up points until tomorrow. So once again, guys, have a nice day. I hope you enjoy the last 2 days and see you on the last day tomorrow. Bye.
Welcome to Avaloq, the #1 provider of software and services for wealth managers and private banks. Founded in 1985, we now have over 4 trillion in Swiss francs assets managed on our systems, 17 offices, in 10 countries, with more than 2,500 employees across the globe, and 25% of annual revenue spent on R&D. We build long-lasting relationships with our client community. And we're proud of our 100% record of successful client implementations. By sharing our investment in innovation, development and regulatory initiatives, we unlock more value for our community. We enable our clients to grow their business and increase efficiency and speed. Our clients have used our solutions to simplify their administrative burden, increasing revenue per relationship manager by up to 10%. Through automation, we have delivered STP rates for payments of up to 99.8% for our clients. And our flexible and modular architecture allows clients to expand rapidly into new markets. We offer a range of innovative solutions from front to back office. And we also support the back office with banking operations. Avaloq's open, highly scalable architecture is built on a unified data model, providing a single source of truth for all client and transaction data. With our multi-entity, single-instance approach and market-specific standard editions, clients can easily expand their business. Our products integrate seamlessly with our clients' own applications or third parties, and our customization layers give clients flexibility while maintaining many of the benefits of standardization. Everything we do supports our mission to orchestrate the financial ecosystem and democratize access to wealth management.